We're here today with Eric Ingberson, the Vice President of Lending with Pan American Bank and Trust in Melrose Park. It's a family-owned community bank with over $500 million in assets under management. Thank you. Thanks for joining us, Eric. How are you?
Good, Mike. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, we appreciate it.
Yeah,
Been busy.
I have been really busy. We have been working pretty much nonstop for the last month and a half, trying to help all our clients out with the PPP program and, calling them up to 11 o'clock at night and getting everything done for them. So, I mean, the good news is we're getting almost all of them funded and, money is flowing, which is the most important thing.
So first round's over, second round's underway.
Yeah.
Assume that's going to end soon.
Yeah, the projection is second round will probably end tomorrow. And again, it's hard to project that a little bit, but the estimate is that tomorrow the second round will be over.
No more money?
No more money in round two. But there were a lot more businesses that got funded in round two because there were provisions provided to allow smaller businesses to get the money. Round one, as everyone probably heard, a lot of the bigger banks sucked up a lot of the cash. So round two, in my opinion, was more successful. And everything we're hearing from the SBA and our partners is that there will be a round three. So we're keeping our fingers crossed.
That's great. Have you been able to help your clients, your customers, and other people's customers?
We have. So, from a PPP perspective, we have accommodated all of our existing depository and loan customers with their needs. We have partnered with some processors, some strategic partners to help us with that process. And for non-customers, we have also put another program into place to help them as well if they were not lucky enough to get through one of the larger banks portals like Chase or Wells or B of A. So yeah, we have taken on non-customers and hopefully we'll be converting them to customers as a result.
Outside of the PPP, you guys are still active with commercial lending and real estate lending, I assume, right?
We are. So, in my group at the bank, we are actively looking at business loans to family businesses all around Chicago. So lines of credit, term debt for equipment, mortgages on their property. So absolutely, we are still lending. We closed a notable transaction just a couple of weeks ago to a private business in the janitorial services space. And then from an investment real estate perspective, we are also lending. I mean, we're trying to understand, what rents are going to be doing. And obviously that's a challenge right now, but the good news is we're actively looking at new projects right now with some of our existing customers. So, our philosophy is we really need to pick up the slack, especially in the communities we serve, and if we just fold up and don't lend, it's just going to exacerbate the problem.
Sure.
So, yeah.
What do rates look like today?
I think obviously they've dropped, right? I mean, I think for a really strong transaction right now, you're looking at on a fixed rate basis, we're going out sometimes as long as 10 years on a conventional basis. We obviously, 5 and 7s are preferred, but for some instances, we're going out 10. The yield curve is, obviously kind of interesting right now, but I in the threes, right? Mid to higher threes, low fours on a fixed rate basis, depending on the equity contribution and the strength of the deal, obviously. But it's certainly competitive, I would think. A lot of our competitors I've seen are kind of not lending right now, other than PPP. So I am actively visiting prospects and customers every week on deals. So
you're wearing a mask?
I am wearing a mask. I have one in my vehicle. It depends on the client's preference, right? I have it with me. I have a hazmat suit as well if needed. No, but I do. I mean, we've been running around getting loan documents signed. Some clients, want. I have it with me. If you want me to wear it, I wear it. If you don't, we socially distance. We bump elbows. We don't shake hands. And honestly, I've been going in the office. Like this week, I'm home. But for the last 3 weeks, I've been physically in the office. So,
Well, and as a community bank in Melrose Park, I imagine a lot of your clients and customers are on the front lines of being impacted by Pritzker's stay at home, and these are guys who rely on customers. I imagine you have a lot of restaurants and small manufacturers who aren't considered essential. How are they faring, and what are you doing to sort of get them through this?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We have people in every space you can imagine, from manufacturing, distribution, medical, restaurants. I think, we're actively talking to them, understanding, every week, how things are evolving for them. I mean, in the case of a restaurant, Mike, I mean, some of our restaurant clients have been able to keep things going through takeout, right? I mean, it depends on the type of restaurant, but I have a large restaurant client that is rationalizing their overhead down. They've closed some locations, but they're still actively, operating to the extent they can. We are restructuring, extending amortizations when necessary, because it really, I mean, it's a win-win for us. We have to work with our clients through this because this is unprecedented. What's happening is an unprecedented thing for everybody. So I think the worst thing we could do would be to, fold up and just, put our heads in the sand. So we're not doing that. We're taking a very active role with our clients and talking to them even more than we usually would.
Mhm.
So whether that's through restructuring their debt, extending them PPP, or even, in some cases, conventional lending. We have extended people additional emergency conventional lending outside of the PPP.
Yeah,
So
when the dust settles, I think the community banks are certainly essential to getting us through this, because you're on the forefront of communicating with these small businesses, and we need these small businesses to keep going if we're going to keep going as a group. When you look forward at the underwriting process, and how has it changed as a result of this pandemic and things?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think, when we're looking at the financial statements of a company right now, right now we're, obviously 2019 data is somewhat relevant, but things have changed since the end of 2019 pretty significantly, right?
Hmm.
So I think the changes I've seen so far are more of a focus on, accounts receivable, right? For an operating company, what do their receivable collections look like? What are their payable strategies look like? I mean, are they able to extend their payables as a source of cash, in the short term? So really, that receivable, inventory payable mix gap analysis, we call it, has become more prevalent. We are asking everybody, are they getting, if it's not through us, are they getting PPP through another bank? That's a question we're asking everybody. And just understanding how they're changing their business model, right? I mean, I have a client that does training, right? In-person training for physicians. Well, guess what? In the last 3 weeks, they have completely changed to an online model successfully. And after the dust settles on this, they may continue doing that. I mean, it's more efficient. So I think you're going to see some interesting, takeaways from this that were unexpected. But I think I see a lot of creativity. We're just understanding how their model is changing, understand their short-term cash needs, and it's really a shorter-term focus, the next 6 months to a year.
So when you think about the world changing, how will banking change?
So I think what you're seeing is, we were, the piece that we can't compete with larger banks like a Chase or Wells is their technology, right, or their branch network. They can obviously they have the resources to kind of blow us away on that, but there's a great article in the Wall Street Journal recently about how really the relationships that you have with the bank really dictated if you were going to be helped or not, because there's lots of great stories from across the country of small community banks, kind of stepping up at all hours of the night. And again, I'm not just blowing smoke. We were calling clients as late as 11, 12, and they were picking up the phone because, and they were just blown away by it because, it
You were
was
their
kind
best friend. They needed
of,
you.
it was an energizing, honestly though, it was kind of an energizing process. It was fun to help. It really was, because it was like, you're almost like a crisis counselor too, because there was so much confusion. They had nowhere to go and they weren't getting answers. So just even taking them through what we knew and counseling them helped. So
So with Eric, help is on the way, right?
yes, yes, yes. We are, I really do think that it does show the value of a community bank. It really reinforces the business model. I mean, God forbid we don't have these, right? Because, if you can't get through to Chase, they weren't picking up their phones, Mike, for days and days and days. They just weren't picking them
Well,
up.
banking, I think in the last few years became so impersonal, right? So everyone was just chasing a number and that's all that mattered. And at times of crisis, when you need the personal touch, you didn't have the personal relationship. And I think a bank like yours probably offers that, where the bigger banks just don't. Right, wrong, or different. That's their model, right? And
We
you,
double down on it. We're doubling down on the service model. I mean, we are, you know, over communicating with our clients, probably. I mean, there are certain clients in the last month and a half that I've literally probably talked to 15 separate times, whether it's on loan deferment or PPP or just understanding how their business is changing. So yeah, no, I mean, I've been on, I don't know how many phone calls in the past month and a half, but it's, I'm going to need a new cell phone pretty soon because it's not.
you burned that one out.
Yes, yes.
Well, Eric, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. We appreciate it. You're a valued asset.
You're most welcome.
Eric Ingbertson, VP of Lending from Pan American Bank in Melrose Park. Thank you.